were like, it took 5 months to get through the first turn rolls. But anyway, again, I don't play, but I do find Warhammer fascinating, so. And then, of course, Grums has words to say about this.
The issue with Warhammer and Custodes is the lie. They could have changed it all they wanted, but they wanted to lie and pretend it was that way all along.
All right, Grums. So I want you to understand the difference between a retcon and the lore, because human beings haven't been making Warhammer for 10,000 years. So since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians. This is, again, I went over in the beginning of the video, probably a soft retcon, more than anything. 36 white male protagonists, but last year I had 37! Based Takahata. This is not lying. This is the people who are in charge of the lore adding to the lore, because that's what they're allowed to do. The Warhammer the game is yours, the players, but Warhammer the story is theirs to shape. It's their world and you live in it. If they change something about the world, it's not the worst thing in the world at all. But here's one of the designers, Andy Hoare. Hoare? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Hoare? I'm hoping it's Hoare. Had a comment about this saying, this all stems from the assumption that there's a binding contract between author and reader to adhere to some non-existent subjective construct of true representation of the setting. There is no such contract. There is no such objective truth. Again, the world is not yours. The world is theirs. You get to play in it. You can be upset with the things that they do with the lore, like I can be upset that Outlaws of Thunder...
Sky News Arabia reports citing Iranian media that there have been 3 large explosions in Isfahan, Iran. Uh-oh. That's not good. That's not good at all. It's been a good run, boys. So they strike Iran and they invade Rafah and Biden looks like a doofus. Oh, brother. Should I quit my job and do the bucket list before the nukes drop? I don't know. I do not know what will happen. Reports of near simultaneous airstrikes on Iran targets in Isfahan, home to the nuclear facilities, as well as targeting air bases in Daraa and Suwaida in northern Syria, home to the radar and air defense sites. If they're targeting air defense sites and radar, and it's not a one-off, or maybe it is, I don't know, but it doesn't feel like it would be a one-off. Israeli attacks confirmed. Breaking Israeli missiles. Oh shit. Pentagon reporter and producer for ABC. Okay, now Israel is confirming that they did hit Iran. A senior U.S. official tells our Martha Raddatz. Oh fuck. That is real confirmation. That's very different than OSINT shit. Nothing ever happens. I mean, it could. Iran could just eat it. You know what I mean? I don't know. If Iran just eats it and then Israel decides not to further escalate, and nothing ever happens, boys will be correct.
That city contains is a facility that converts uranium ore into yellow cake, and eventually that gets enriched and then becomes a nuclear weapon. So the why I think that could possibly be a target, going back to what General Mark said, is because Israel wants to show Iran that it has the capability to reach out and get to that facility. We don't know if that specific facility was attacked. They could have just attacked around a military target around it there in some cases.
Like, notice how fast they've started talking about how valid this target is. They don't even know what the target is yet. We don't know what the target is, but if it is this, then it's such a good target to hit. I mean, my take is hard thinking about how dope it was that Israel hit Iranian soil. The attack attributed to Israel in Iran, there is currently no Israeli confirmation. The response was planned in such a way that Iran could contain the attack, although even for the assassination of the Iranian general, the intelligence did not estimate that Iran would respond with a missile attack. This is actually interesting. This is honest. Exactly. Military correspondent for Time News. As we found out, Israel was like, oopsies, we didn't think Iran would retaliate. We killed a bunch of their fucking generals in a goddamn embassy compound, which they did. Now they're bombing Iranian soil, and I suspect that the consideration is still the same. Will Iran respond? I mean, oops, we didn't think that when we said we are going to retaliate swiftly with all of our might or whatever. I didn't think that that was real. Now, having said that, it might not be. It might not be a real retaliation. Judging by how timid Iranian retaliation has been, how calculated Iranian retaliation has been consistently, while the world is showing that they are going to unconditionally defend Israel and offer political cover for Israel, whether it is doing a genocide or whether it is violating the sovereignty of other countries in the region, and only attack and respond politically when you retaliate, a lot of regional actors feel alone. That the rule-based international order is completely fucking fraudulent, which everyone already knew. So this puts Iran in a weird predicament as well, because it has to demonstrate strength. I do hope that it's just literally nothing. Like this is just a silly billy, very, very, very minor, no damage had, just like, oh, we have the capacity to fucking strike you, but we won't type shit. And then Iran's like, yeah, look how humiliated Israel is because they didn't actually hit anything. And the Western media is lying about the damage in order to fucking cope with the reality that Israel is scared of Iran's might. And then we just fucking end it there. Assuming that they have not already retaliated, who knows? Who knows what it might be? But that I feel like is the best possible outcome. See, okay, there you go. Iranian outlets are claiming that all explosions heard tonight are due to interceptions and that no explosions occurred on the ground. Dude, regardless of how limited this fucking strike was, it's still insane. The fact that it happened at all is a direct shot, not at Israel, not at Iran, is a direct shot at America. Biden's out here being like, please keep doing the genocide in Rafah. We were lying. We were wrong. We were lying and we were fucking wrong when we said you can't do the Rafah genocide. Just keep genociding the Palestinians. Just don't strike Iran. And then like the next hour, oh, I'm sorry. Did you say strike Iranian soil directly? No, the IRGC did not say they're going to target Israeli nuclear sites in response. The IRGC talked about the potential for striking Israeli nuclear targets earlier before the strike happened. I think that's what you're confusing this with. Unless there's something new happening. I can't believe Iran is playing the nothing happened card. I mean, it doesn't seem to be that severe, considering that these are nuclear explosions, there are Iranian chatters and shit, but I haven't seen a single fucking piece of footage, not one, from the actual explosion that is a little bit unique. And the only thing that you guys have sent me so far have been explosions from other places. Bro, what the fuck?
To this Israeli operation.
What are you doing, bro? What is Bricks Info? What is this? What are you doing? Bro, just send me Hinkeldink as a fucking source. This is an educational moment for chatters to understand, like, a little bit more media literacy. Now, some of these accounts will get shit right sometimes. That doesn't mean you should trust them because they do not have a reliable way of verifying information. It's no different to me than sending me like the octopus that found picked the right presidential candidate 8 years in a fucking row. It's literally no different than that octopus, okay? I don't know how many fucking picks that octopus made. Why am I watching local news programming right now? Like, BNO News is not great either, but this is at least like something that I've seen a lot. Bytux is a little bit more reliable, I guess, and that's where BNO News is getting their information from. There's been no airstrike in Isfahan or other parts of the country. They only made a failed and humiliating attempt to fly quadcopters, and they were all shot down. Yeah, there you go. Iranian state TV is reporting that several small drones were shot down in the airspace of Isfahan province. James Clapper weighed in on CNN. Predicts the Iran may strike back more strongly against Israel than its failed attack last week. I don't know. No. If that was gonna happen, then it would have happened already, I think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. That is the gamble when you strike Iranian soil. But yeah, here, Itamar Ben-Gvir calling to dismantle the war cabinet yesterday due to their inaction. Pressure was clearly mounting on the coalition internally due to the waiting in the heat. The U.S. saw that the conception cabinet was not responding to the attack of hundreds of missiles from Iran into Israeli territory, so it raised its head and took an aggressive step against us. And today causes wounded fighters. It's time to dismantle the conception cabinet. The Union War Cabinet stopped the policy of inclusion and proportionality and short end to the landlord has gone mad. The landlord? Does he think that he owns the land all around, like all the way to Israel? Like what's happening? I mean, all the way to Iran? Just when he wild that he's just always getting like 1K fucking likes on tweets like this. It's like, bro, you ain't got the fucking juice. You know what I mean? What is this? God, dude, get on Ozempic, bitch. Shut the fuck up. Make something of yourself. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. Go work out, dumbass. Maybe you'll be less hateful, you know? He's like, bro, I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking disband the workout, bro. I swear. If you don't let me do genocide right now, I'm gonna fucking do it. Here's what we have right now. A couple hours ago, there were reports coming out that there were explosions being heard in Syria, explosions being heard in Iraq, and explosions being heard inside of Iran. Immediately, the explosions being reported inside of Iran being in Isfahan made people think that it was at the nuclear site. However, it seems like, especially because of how limited the information was, it seems like it wasn't that severe. However, it's still a gamble. Why is it a gamble? Because you don't know what Iran is going to do in retaliation. And it's especially a gamble because the United States of America said don't do it. Even as Israel did not demonstrate their full power, their full striking capability here, it still doesn't matter. Because what if Iran did retaliate? That was always a very realistic outcome, considering that they said they would. The fact that they still slide it to be like, here's our deterrence, either A, means that they just genuinely believe in Iranian restraint, which could be the case, but it's still a fucking major gamble regardless because it's an unknown situation. The point I'm trying to make, I guess, is that it is an unknown escalation that will potentially be met with maybe even disproportionate response from a foreign adversary that America said don't fuck with them. And they did this right after there were news reports coming out from the Biden team saying, one, we are vetoing the Palestinian statehood recognition for you, Israel, and two, if you want to fucking invade Rafah, go ahead. As a treat, we will let you invade Rafah and continue your genocide. Just please don't strike Iran. The fact that Israel still turned around and struck Iran, albeit with a very anemic retaliation, is still fucked up. It's still a big fuck you. It almost feels like if Biden said, please, Israel, strike Iran, Israel would go, you know what, fuck it, we're not going to do that. It's like opposite day over there. Whatever Biden says, the war cabinet does the exact opposite. The fuck's happening? So maybe, hopefully this means they won't invade motherfucking Rafah either, because Biden was like, you can invade Rafah. Just kidding. Of course that's not going to happen. They're going to do both. Does not sound like nuclear sites were targeted. Military targets only. U.S. was notified in advance. Escalation was not the objective. Israel demonstrating its capability to reach inside of Iran at will. That is a step taken tonight to begin restoring deterrence. It's so funny that the FDD guy, Richard Goldberg, is saying this like Iran doesn't know that Israel has the capability of reaching inside of Iran. Israel has reached inside of Iran before. The fuck are we talking about? Both through cyber attacks and also with direct targeting. What do you mean? And yeah, he's wrong. The United States was notified in advance, but the United States did not greenlight it. So there's that part too. Senior U.S. official tells Marquardt TA, Alex Marquardt, Chief National Security Correspondent, Israel informed the U.S., but we didn't endorse the response. It's so funny that like this is, I think mathematically, the worst possible outcome for Biden. I can't comprehend it. It literally feels like more of a fuck you to Biden than it is to Iran. Sending fucking like quadcopter drones or whatever the fuck they sent in that will easily be swatted away by any capable country's anti-aircraft defense systems is literally less of a fuck you to Iran than it is to Biden. Especially after Biden was like, don't do it. Don't fucking do it, Jack. What is happening here? It could be multiple different reasons. Like our chatter brought up that internal pressure from the war cabinet that demands a response that directly strikes Iran could be part of the reason. No, I refuse. You cannot say escalation was not the objective when Israel bombed an embassy and attacked, doing ironically the most minimal casualty count. And now the response is to fire back, hoping there's no escalation. No, I think it's fucking stupid. I think Israel is that stupid to some degree. Or at least like they're communicating to Western media that they are that stupid. Because if they were genuinely worried that they would come across like fucking dumbasses, there wouldn't be a New York Times article today, literally with the headline, Israel didn't think killing Iranian generals in an embassy compound would be worthy of a missile strike retaliation from Iran. So even if they genuinely are that stupid or they're just presenting themselves as such, they are trying to communicate to the rest of the world that they are that fucking dumb. I personally think they're not that fucking dumb. I think that they do want to escalate the conflict and they're going to keep prodding and pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to warrant some kind of response from Iran with the hopes that it will inevitably bring the United States of America into the conflict in a very meaningful way. Why aren't the Israeli officials claiming it? No, they did, I think. Also, didn't they? I thought they did. But whatever. America already confirmed it. Who gives a shit if fucking Israel confirms it or not? You know what I mean? Like, America already confirmed it. That's it. That's all you need, bro. What do you mean Israel didn't confirm it? When does America even confirm Israeli actions? Sometimes Israel will be like, yeah, we did that shit. And America will be like, did they? So I'm sorry. When America is confirming that Israel struck a target, I'm going to go with Israel definitely struck a target. But yes, tonight, the nothing ever happens have won once again. Although, like I said, things are happening all the fucking time. And the nothing ever happens are fucking delusional and stupid for saying nothing ever happens only because they live in fucking America and these Amerifat pieces of shit only think something happens when their goddamn gasoline is fucking $5 extra per gallon. When they start paying European prices for gas, they're like, oh, something is happening. You stupid fucking diabetic piece of shits out here with the nothing ever happens nonsense. 40,000 motherfuckers are dead, and motherfuckers still in the chat, including Weeby, going, nothing ever happens. No, things are happening all the fucking time. What do you think Iran's response will be? I don't think, I don't know. I'm just going to make a prediction. Judging by what they've done so far, they've been restrained. And like I said, depending on where you are living, you might even say too restrained to a fault even. So I think it's good that they're restrained, obviously, and we shall see what happens. But it is once again another very obvious Israel told fuck you to America moment. Yeah, the Israelis didn't and probably won't confirm themselves to help Iran avoid retaliation. They've also used quadcopters to hit Iranian targets in the past. In February 2022, they sent 6 to blow up a drone facility in Iran. Yeah, see, I told you. Israel has fucking struck Iran before, but it's more like it's always done in a way where it is no good secret. Finally, Barack is a source peeping. A senior U.S. official told me Israel conducted a strike in Iran tonight. He said that Israel notified the U.S. in advance. We were not surprised, the official said. Nice, man. I don't know. I don't think Iran would be openly stating that nothing happened and it was fucking bullshit and it was like a humiliating bitch-made attack if they were going to strike back.
Hello and welcome back to Jarvis Johnson Gold, the premium channel that is free. It is free, but if you're watching this, you're premium. And today is a bit of a weird one. We've talked a lot about bad relationship advice, bad TikToks, the combination of those two things. Today, we're going to talk about an alpha male dating course guru named Alpha Dom. This person has been going viral on TikTok for all the wrong reasons. People have already handled it on TikTok. They've already, ripped this guy a new one. And I simply just want to observe and just, throw my little sprinkling of salt and pepper that I can offer, my special Jarvis sauce, so to speak. That being said, one thing I want to call out up front, this dating coach, while they do have horrible opinions, they are relatively small for a creator. They only have like 7,000 followers on TikTok, which normally I wouldn't talk about someone of this size. But then so many of their TikToks have got like hundreds of thousands of views, and so their message is spreading, and I don't like that. So it's a weird thing. So I'm like suspending my normal rule of not talking about smaller people because some of these I actually may try to watch mostly the very popular ones. And again, don't harass this person. TikTok has got you covered on that. They're doing everything you think you're doing and more. So don't even worry about it. Just treat this as my own walk through objectionable content. Don't tap the glass. Don't engage. Don't talk to someone like that, especially on my behalf, because it's not what I want. Another reason to not engage is it's exactly what they want, and me engaging just in my video is fine. It's if a bunch of people go out and watch and comment and hate watch or whatever, that's when it can become a problem. So don't give them what they want. I'm already doing that. Okay, the first video, and again, this is in heavy quotes because these are not my words. You don't always have to accept her rejection. From the jump, I'm gonna say, wrong, sorry. You're wrong on the grounds of you're a guy talking in his car about what women want, which is, that's actually how you summon a circle to hell. So I'll see you in Avernus, buddy. Second, people, consent matters. You do have to accept your rejection. It's harassment if you don't. But I assume that is just the clickbait. That's just the sensationalized topic to get you through the door so that you're already riled up when you watch this content that's gonna break down the walls of your mind and teach you to see things the way he sees them. Probably not, but we'll see.
You do not have to accept her rejection.
Yes, you do. He's not even keeping a straight face. Like, I kind of don't even believe he believes what he's saying. So this might be like maximum grift, like he's given himself a 20 in his grift stat. I'm making myself laugh because I'm playing too much Baldur's Gate.
I'm a professional dating coach, and I teach guys how to understand the female mind.
Okay, this is often what these people do. They position themselves as dating coaches. They say that they're teaching guys to understand something about women. I don't believe you. Looks are not everything. Looks can be deceiving. Never judge a book by its cover. But I do believe in judging a book by its cover and the content of its content. So I guess we will continue to fill out our opinions here, but so far I'm off board. Oh yeah, also the description is, before you trigger, watch the entire video. So you need to learn not to always accept her rejection. I assume he's not like seducing women through text, because homeboy does not have a way with words. This is rough. However, it's a balance. I'm not like a grammar god. When I read The Elements of Style by Strunk and White in my sophomore year high school English class, I realized I was breaking a lot of rules, and I didn't commit much to memory. But one thing I do know is you should probably put a comma here. There's like the wrong forms of words in here. What are you even saying? However, it's a balance. Never force, just have fun toying with the rejection, I would argue maybe move on because if someone's rejecting you, your energy is better spent elsewhere.
If you're one of the people that haven't applied anything in my course or my videos or anything like that, this video is not for you. This is an advanced technique.
Hold on, okay. He's like, you're not going to understand my jutsu if you haven't taken my course.
This is an advanced technique. This is for the people that have the course, have my videos.
So it's like a advertisement for his course. It's like you've got to be careful applying these techniques because if you aren't properly certified in the art of unlocking the female mind, then you could cause permanent damage. I think that you should just walk away, sir.
This is for the people that have the course, have my videos, fucking are applying it, seeing results.
Oh, so it's for no one? If it's for someone who's taken your course and is applying it and seeing results, are the results that women are running away from him at an alarming rate? Are those the results? Because I refuse to believe that there are real testimonials from the modern man.
Time right now, so I'm releasing it now. You don't have to accept her rejection.
The captions coming up one word at a time is reminding me of those Instagram reel ads I get for like how to make people with ADHD read better by downloading this one app.
I was talking to a girl, and she said, "Oh, you know, I'm not really interested." And I instead of
I was talking to a girl, made me think he was like in a conversation, but normally when you're in a conversation, one person isn't trying to leave the conversation. So I was accosting a woman, and she was like, "Please leave me alone." It's a funny way to put it. I was talking to a girl. She wasn't talking to me. She was running away.
talking to a girl, and she said, "Oh, you know, I'm not really interested." And I instead of just going, "Oh, thanks," I was just turning that way.
Oh, instead of doing what you should have done, which would be like respecting her boundaries, which is like some beta cuck behavior, dude. You should never do that. If you watch my course, an advanced technique is to not believe women when they tell you that they're not interested. Because there's actually a secret code that I'll tell you if you subscribe to my highest tier, that you can actually unlock her, like skull opens up and her brain is fully exposed, and then you can like go beep boop beep boop beep boop beep boop, and then she goes, "I am now in love with you." At least that it works in the video game that I'm working on right now, and I'm hoping I can apply that to real life very soon. But before we get into that, we have a brief word from today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that allows you to manage your subscriptions, lower your bills, create a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one app. Frankly, I have been wanting to cut down on a lot of my subscriptions, but I'm afraid to look for what I may find. But thankfully, Rocket Money can help with that. They safely and securely identify recurring charges and can cancel unwanted subscriptions on your behalf. You can even do this right from the app with just a couple of taps, so you don't even need to call those annoying customer service lines. Rocket Money has helped its customers save an average of $720 a year, which adds up to over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Rocket Money can also help you set up a budget and send you push notifications when you exceed your budget in certain categories, which is a great way to cut spending. So what are you waiting for? Get the tools you need to achieve financial freedom. Head on over to rocketmoney.com/Jarvis Johnson, that's my name, or click the link in the description to start your free trial of Rocket Money today. Thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Now back to your regularly scheduled me.
I did this. Why would you not be interested in me? I'm the best. Absolutely the best. And she's like, "Oh, how?" I'm like, "Well,
I don't believe that. If he said I'm the best, and she's like, "Well, hold on. How is he the best? Maybe I am missing out." I think she would, if he said I'm the best, like every time you see one of these pickup artists actually approaching a woman in real life, they like nervously laugh and walk away. And then they see a camera and they're like extra away and they're already running.
and she's like, "Oh, how?" I'm like, "Well, you have to come over to my house to find out."
What? This is like Little Red Riding Hood. He's like literally a wolf dressed up as an alpha, I guess. Yeah, he's like an alpha dog. And he's like, "You'll just have to come to my house. I have cookies and treats. I don't bite." Teeth clearly showing.
You'd have to come over to my house to find out. And you'd also have to be okay with kink and
You'll have to come to my house? That's already no, obviously. And then you'll have to be okay. And so now he's listing his demands. And he's trying to trick her by making her think that he's the Harvard of men, where he has a really low acceptance rate and lots of things that she has to do, like volunteer and have a really high GPA and SAT score and have legacy admission. Someone she knows has to have attended the school of Alpha Dog in order for her to get in to his home to do kink stuff. Oh God, Dom. I just want to do kinky stuff with you. I wasn't interested 2 seconds ago, but now I want it.
And you would also have to be okay with kink, and you'd also have to be okay with my mastering of ropes. In fact, I don't know.
It's so clearly like a fucking character. Andrew Tate can sell this message because he's like smoking a cigar inside of a Bugatti, and he's like,
You want to be like me. What color is your Bugatti?
this guy's in like a fucking Honda Civic talking about he's mastered ropes. Don't mind all the women who I've tied up with my ropes actively in my sex dungeon. This is like somebody gave their D&D DM the secret and put them on like a fucking, gave them a YouTube Shorts algorithm, and now they're fucking role-playing as if they were the Wiz God.
Actually, maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't be the best for me.
Right, because now he's rejecting you. He's basically going, oh no, you don't want to date me? Well, actually, I'm better, and I have all the sex with all the women. Don't you want to be involved with all the women that I have in my home? You don't know, but maybe we're not the best, yeah. We're not the best for each other. Guess I'm just going to go back to my dungeon of women that I'm sleeping with at all times or whatever. You can't fire me, I quit.
Actually, maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't be the best for me. And now I did turn it around at the end, but I could have left that part out and still got her to start bantering back and forth, and she did.
You've activated my trap card. Mirror Force. I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you reject to me bounces off of me, and now I'm rejecting you.
She started going back and forth with me, and I started building traction in that because now
She started going back. He's acting like he like tripped up her like NPC AI. She was like, she didn't know what to do. And then I started farming her for XP.
she started going back and forth with me, and I started building traction in that because now I had sidestepped her fucking rejection.
Sidestepped her rejection like he's fucking in Street Fighter. Oh man, dude, I perfect parried her rejection. Dude, I fucking full comboed that girl. And now she's my wife.
Keep in mind, I didn't force it. I didn't say, no, you're no. I just played into her little fucking game. I knew she was playing with me a little bit.
What do you mean played into her little fucking game? She's like, leave me alone. And you're like, a game.
I will crack this cryptic code, much like the Da Vinci Code.
Remember that book? That was a wild time. Imagine applying that to like other aspects of life. Sorry, we're closed today. A riddle. I'll use my hammer to break the glass, and I guess you're not closed because I'm inside the building and you're arresting me. Oh no. Oh gosh. I may have lost the battle, but the game master will win the war. Telling men to do this makes it more dangerous for women to soft reject a guy to try to protect his feelings. Because now they're going to think it's a bit of a game. Because now you've told them that the most common rejection, which is the, oh, no thanks, I'm not interested, which is nice, or the I have a boyfriend or whatever, is actually not a rejection. It is. Leave them alone. Instead, you're supposed to continue pestering them and start monologuing about your sex dungeon with your ropes. I don't think so. Buster Brown, what is your name? Alpha Dog?
I knew she was playing with me a little bit, or just kind of disengaging, and I gave her a little bit of fun. You wanna know what I did with her later?
I don't want to know what to do with her later. Don't smile like that at me ever again. What the hell?
And I gave her a little bit of fun.
I don't think you gave her a little bit of fun. I think what you gave her was a fight or flight response, where she does not feel safe around you. I don't recommend that to anyone because you've escalated the situation and made someone feel uncomfortable.
You wanna know what I did with her later?
Nothing, because she left. And this is all a farce, dude. This is like 50 Shades of Dread. Something is up, everybody. Because this video has 220,000 views and 157 likes. Did somebody view bot? Something is afoot. All right, so he's in the outfit. We all know the outfit. He's dressed like Cool Jarvis. He's a fan, clearly. Stole my whole drip, bro.
Hola, senores and senoritas. All right, guys, so...
I'm ashamed to say that maybe he's growing on me. No, just kidding. This is so fucking cringe. What is happening?
Down below. First get the course, and then down below follow my new account. Cool. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm probably fucking 6 girls right now as I post this.
Okay, wait. This might be parody. Wait, this might be satire. Did you hear the last thing he said? I think he said at the very end, really quietly, I'm probably fucking 6 girls as I post this.
Happy Valentine's Day. I'm probably fucking 6 girls right now as I post this.
Happy Valentine's Day. I'm probably fucking like 6 girls as I post this. This has to be satire. How long have you been in your relationship? Ships. 4 of my 6 girls, years. The other 2, about a year. Homie is role-playing. For sure, for sure.
A lot of people have asked this question, and they've never asked it respectfully, so I've always ignored it. But it's finally been asked respectfully, so I will answer. When I first started TikTok, I had a rule that I didn't want any of my girls on social media, especially TikTok. I know what TikTok is. I know people are... And so I didn't want any of my girls on.
Are the girls in the room with us right now? I love that he's always wearing a seatbelt, though, dude. That's a safe king. It's so that he can strap in before he blows your freaking mind with all of his tips.
A lot of my girls wouldn't want to be on either because they have careers.
He's saying my girls like in a like Andrew Tate way. Like he's like a I own these women type way. He's like, TikTok, it's a cesspool. I don't want any of my girls on there. And of course, me as their master and owner of these objects can control what they have.
Wouldn't want to be on either because they have careers like they're a lawyer or a doctor or like they're high, powerful women.
Lawyers and doctors are all over TikTok, but I just don't believe him. I don't think he's dating 6 lawyers and doctors. I have to say it. There's lots of reasons. There's lots of tells. The biggest tell is that they don't. It's very convenient for them to not want to be in the videos because you can just make up these people in your head
that don't necessarily want their clients, their employers, their employees, and in some cases, some of them.
Some of them are large business owners. Some of them, the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and they all come back to Dom to get tied up in my ropes and experience my sex mastery.
Knowing that they're submissive.
It's just so funny because it's so unbelievable, and on the internet, people are not going to take your word for it, so that's why I feel like it's just sad.
Knowing that they're submissive. But Brat really wanted to do it, and
Brat really wanted to do it. Is that the name of one of his girls?
She, at first, when she first said, like, hey, can I be in some of your TikToks? I'm like, hey, no offense, nothing against you, but people will rip you apart. Like, you're with me. It's not.
People will rip you apart. But you figure out the comments. Which is, again, like, I got lured in. I thought this creator was larger than they were because they must be botting their content. And it's, like, okay to tell, like, your fun little lies. Your pretty little lies. Your alpha, except for alpha, though.
Over time, she wore me down, and I didn't want her to feel like I wasn't proud of her or I wasn't.
The reason this guy always records his videos in his car with his seatbelt on is because he's in a rush. He has to speed away from the scene of the crime as soon as he movies in order to make it to all of his dates with his 12 girlfriends.
Happy to show her. And I made a negotiation. I said, I can come on in my life, but you gotta wear a mask.
Wear a mask? That's two-turn Tony core.
Convinced me to take down the mask. And that's when it first started.
Wait, but what about I thought that's what the point of the mask is. I thought all women wear a mask and they need a confident man to be able to see through that mask. So, I mean, if you can't see through your girl's mask, then are you the alpha that you say you are? This is my girlfriend. I know you guys can't tell, but like I can see through her mask, but she wears it for the public because I don't like to have other fellows like looking at her. I just find it disrespectful. Slash is her name, or Garby for short. We call her Garby. Garby was gonna come on this video, but she actually, her dog ate her homework. She's doing her third PhD right now, so she's over too. But I can see through her mask too. It doesn't even matter if she wears it. Anyway, shout out to a real queen, Garby. She's one of 15 of my women. I have each of them in little Pokeballs that I look out to go through their little classes and their little jobs. They're like the CEO of Coke and like Google and whatever, but they all do submit to Dommy Daddy. That's me. I'm thinking about starting a TikTok where I give men advice because I feel like not enough men know how to be a Dommy Daddy, like Dommy Daddy Jungle Baby. I think it's finally time for me to just like release some of my codes, release some of my cheat codes. Kind of be like a Game Shark or like an action replay for men, so to speak. One of my other girls is a lawyer. Everybody knows if a lawyer is on camera, then they automatically lose all of their court cases. It's a well-documented content law. So in order to save the lives of all of her clients, she can't be on the stream. So I think I'm a bit of a saint or a hero because she was ready to jump on the stream and I was like, no, babe, you gotta save lives. She was like, I guess you're right, but I just really want to be on the stream so that people know that you're not making up the stuff about dating 15 women and becoming a billionaire playboy philanthropist. And I'm like, no, the people get it. They get it. They know. They know. The world gets it. So don't even worry about that, babe. Anyway, rest in peace. Whatever you say. One of my girls is really good at digital art. She drew it. Granted, it was when I had more hair, but I like it and made it the face of the brand. Huh? One of my girls is really good at digital art, so she drew this. Granted, it was when I had more hair, but I like it, and so I made it the face of the brand.
A creator with I think 1.3 million viewers said that I had no girls, and Brat jumped into my defense and commented on her video, yeah, he does. To which she made a video saying that she was a bot account and then doxed her by telling her where one of her places of work are.
How can you simultaneously be a bot and have a job? I guess on Twitter, if you just type, I'm having issue with my MetaMask wallet, you'll get a bunch of bots that are like, oh, just email me, I'll take your money. I mean, I'll help you. When you tell somebody my place of work is a bot, this is who you're doxing. If he really sells a course, though, then he's full grifter and none of this is satire. Also, it's still, if you never reveal that it's satire, then it's in the legends, but it's satire, then it's still bad.
Like boiling down what that woman did. And Brat was kind of cautious for a little bit. You'll see it if you watch the podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy his course. Time charge of $10. $10.
Okay, so I recorded this video a couple of weeks ago. I just went to check to get a screenshot of his course page. I paid $10 for the class, but now he's charging $197. This is a sham. This is a scam. I recorded all of this criticism under the impression that he was charging $10, which I thought was too much for his class.
Please check your email for the registration link. If you can't find it, check your spam folder. I have not received the email. Wow, he was in my spam folder. He knew. He was like, I know what I am. I'll show up in your spam. So, I felt on the fence about talking about this guy because of the size of his actual audience. He is almost definitely inflating the size of his content. The engagement just isn't there. The likes just aren't there. The views, hundreds of thousands of views, but not very much actual engagement. So before I moved forward with this, I wanted to make sure that he was truly committed to the grift. And so I bought the course, and now I'm going to look at the course and see if it's for real. Because if all of this is actually for real, then it's fair game. I feel, because this is just robbing people and lying to them. Well, somebody's in their car. You know why people are in their car? Because they don't have to fucking clean their room. Because if you saw these people living in their actual living spaces, they would not seem so alpha. You know what I'm saying? If you saw their Wolf of Wall Street poster on the wall with no frame, then you would know for sure what you were getting yourself into. So I'm watching his videos because I paid for the course. I think I'm the only person who paid for his course. Module 2. Module 3. Body language, pacifying behavior, nerves and anxiety, vocal tone, emotional intelligence, cocky funny why it works, cocky funny how to use it, ho-flation.
Ho-flation is the belief that when your grandmother or grandfather or great-grandfather or great-grandmother were younger and they met, she had to work way less than you have to work today in order to get a girl that's 4 times less than what your great-grandmother or
Hold on. There's more math. Let me take some notes. 4 times less. You have to work 4 times harder.
This is how I'm gonna blow the lid off this in front of you right now, okay? This is how you know this is a beta wussy poor me saying.
Okay.
The word work is in it.
Okay. Work is for pussies.
The complaint is you have to work 4 times harder. Men are too worried about putting work in. Obviously you're here. Obviously you're watching the course, so you're a little bit different.
I'm a little bit different. Thank you.
Massively different if you apply it though. You can join your fucking 1% club, the Hyman.
What club is that? If he has 6 girlfriends that he dominates or whatever? I am single, so I do need to, I guess I should take better notes.
So that's the big discrepancy. It's not that all women are bad. It's just that girls are looking for the best that they can get.
And it's you. Did I get it? Do I pass? Girls want the best that they can get. and it's this guy. And that's why I'm single. I think I figured it out all in a day's work.
You see it all the time. You can hear like turn on the news. These girls that had everything paid for them. Their husband was disconnected and working all the time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm providing for her." And the girl leaves.
That's on the news. Local woman leaves man who was giving her everything. More than 11.
Your focus should be more on creating emotions and feelings in her than trying to buy her.
You have to create the emotions and feelings in her. Now you love.
Build connection and build attraction in her, then she will ever like a guy who just pays her shit.
Right. That's like a terrible choice. You're like a guy who she likes and has a connection to and enriches her life versus a guy who is a glorified credit card. Like what's the choice there?
After getting close to me, they want to start building something. They want to build a business, or they want to build a nonprofit, or become better up in their careers and stuff like that. My frame changes women.
My frame makes women start nonprofits. The D goes crazy, dude. It makes them want to yearn for higher positions in their career. Every single one of these modules is like him yapping without any editing, all in his car with the seatbelt on over a few different days with various levels of facial hair. It like starts off and he's like pretty clean cut, and then he grows a beard through it. So I assume he's been sitting in his car for the past 2 weeks.
Be able to know how to handle and offend something that has offended them.
So the videos are highly edited, and you can tell that a lot of work really went into the production, which makes your $10 really feel like it was well spent. I'm gonna pay again, actually. I'm gonna sign up for a second round. I flub lines all the time, by the way. I just cut them out, but there's no editing done in these videos. So it's a glorified stream that's been cut into parts and sold for $10. You get much more value on the Sad Boys Patreon, which is available for as low as $5, and we put an hour-long episode out every week. We've put out 55, as of the recording of this, 55 episodes of Sad Boys Nights. We will not teach you about hoflation. We will not teach you how to get 6 girlfriends, but we will teach you how to have a good time with your pal. The only reason I actually bring that up, I did give myself a little plug, always be plugging, but the reason I bring that up is because I even feel so self-conscious about selling anything that $5 for the 55 episodes and counting of the episodes. You can just pay $5 once, get every episode, and then you pay $10 for 26-minute videos that are all basically one video just chopped up. I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be too hard on myself. Okay, so I bought the course. I've learned a lot. I do think that more or less, it doesn't matter if he's living the life he says he is. So it's fun to meme about how he's lying, but who cares? I just think the content's bad, and that's like my main thing. Whatever, don't harass the guy. But also it's this. He's just saying the same thing everyone else is saying, and he's doing the same grift, and apparently he has 6 girlfriends, so congrats, I guess. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at my alpha male course that I'll be starting next week. Just wait.
To say that Spidey Turan is simultaneously one of the most disgusting and tragic streamers ever would be a gross understatement. From exploring vibrant destinations like Thailand while enjoying illegal substances, to taking a dump on the sandy shores of Hawaii, Spidey never goes anywhere without making a scene.
I have autism and I'm from Australia! Please give me my phone!
However, this reckless lifestyle has not only taken a toll on Spidey, but everyone around him, with even his own family calling the police on him.
What the fuck?
I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be looking into one of the most tragic, disgusting, and unbelievable TikTokers ever. This is the story of William Spidey Turan, the streamer who built a cult following by sleeping in public toilets, getting arrested in foreign countries, and doing everything you shouldn't do, but on camera. But before we go any further, I want to quickly shout out the artist Turan's Channel Suburb to document most of the information being shown throughout the video. Spidey Turan, whose real name is William Turan, is a 21-year-old streamer from Western Australia. He was diagnosed with both autism and ADHD, which seemed to come up pretty strong in his videos. He often reading into confrontations and social situations where he seems to have unlimited tolerance and a huge level of understanding of potential consequences.
Take make your choice now. Get lost.
This is public property.
Get lost.
This is public property.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let's do it the hard way. Here we go. Get lost. It's not public property. It's public child.
Spidey is mostly known for his travel content. He seems to be in the country each week. He seems to be living on accommodation by sleeping in public toilets, parks, or freeloading on his fans, and instead spends it on what he considers more important things, like illicit substances, booze, and chasing the next crime. To understand who Spidey is and why he does the things he does, we first need to understand his relationship with his two favorite vices, social media and substances. As you'll soon discover, Spidey's impulsive behavior, particularly concerning his online presence and substance use, often places him in great danger. As his family stares for attention and morality, Spidey has taken on a persona beyond the ordinary trader influencer. He has gained notoriety by being disrespectful to people's cultures, filming in restricted areas without consent, and having frequent emotional meltdowns. But Spidey wasn't always like this. He started his online creation journey back in July of 2021, posting cheap sharing vlogs to his now terminated YouTube channel. A few months later, on the 26th of November 2021, Spidey would upload his first TikTok video to his page, named Sharing Shed Vlogs. Initially, Spidey would struggle to find success with his sharing videos. However, on the 20th of December 2021, Spidey would have his first semi-viral video, with a TikTok asking strangers the question of what makes them unique.
What sets you apart from other people?
Probably my small penis.
What sets you apart from other people?
Differentiality and well-being.
The video would go on to gain over 400,000 views, giving Spidey a taste of internet fame. And this just seemed to be the beginning. Fast forward to the following year, and Spidey would upload a TikTok freestyling over a hip-hop beat.
If you're a wolf, you can think fast and outlast. If you're a sheep, I'll put my in your...
With the obscene lyrics coupled with a degenerate-looking haircut, the TikTok would go on to gain over 1 million views, and comments cheering him on, stating, "Telling my grandkids this was Eminem. So funny, you're a legend, mate." As well as, "My man is too funny." On top of all this, Spidey seemingly never showered or really cared for his personal hygiene. So it's safe to say he was likely stinking up every place he went. If only he had a subscription to Scentbird, the sponsor of today's video. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription that allows you to try a new fragrance every month for the low price of just $17. Scentbird has become a big part of my daily life, as I can try different designer fragrances without breaking the bank. Every month, you pick what you want to receive, so there are no surprises. This month, I was sent out Versace Ross, Yellowstone Ride, Commodity Moss, and Burberry Good for Men. I have to say, my favorite has to be Versace Ross, because it's the perfect fresh scent for a night out. With over 700 different perfumes, colognes, and music fragrances to choose from, there's something on there for everyone. And to make finding which scents you want even easier, Scentbird has a quiz on their website, which allows you to pinpoint the exact scent you need for whatever occasion. Despite Versace Ross being my favorite, I've absolutely been loving Commodity Moss. It's just such an addicting, fresh, citrusy scent that I never would have used if it wasn't for Scentbird's quiz. So if you're interested, head down to the link in the description and use code AMOS55 to get 55% off your first month, making your first order just a little over $7. US and Canada. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and let's get back into the video. In August 2022, according to MorganMedia.com, Spidey posted 2 TikTok videos in which he stated that he quit his job as a sheep shearer and was flying to Turkey to enroll in the Turkish military. This would mark the turning point for Spidey's online journey, going from tailor snips and shearing vlogs to primarily focusing the content on his travels. Unfortunately, the journey Spidey was about to embark on would prove to be more than what he bargained for. By September 2022, Spidey would make his way to Turkey to start enrolling into the military. The first thing he had to do was take a medical examination, which seemed easy enough to pass, but unbeknownst to Spidey, the results of that exam would cut his military journey very short.
You're outside the hospital where I'm about to do my army test. I have autism and ADHD. Well, I have to go do a doctor's test, and a doctor's going to see if I'm actually capable of doing the army service. And if he says yes, then I'll be starting in about 2-3 months. If he says no, then I won't have to do the army service. I'm low-key hoping that he's going to say, you're not allowed to do the military service. That way I won't have to do the military service.
The Turkish army discovered Spidey's ADHD and autism diagnosis, which made him unfit to serve. This left Spidey without a purpose or goal to aspire to. He'd already quit his job back in Australia, and now that the military wouldn't accept him, Spidey could do whatever he wanted. Since he still had some money left from his previous job, Spidey made the impulsive decision to travel to England to keep himself occupied. This single choice would change the course of Spidey's life and set him on a path of degeneracy. While Spidey's time in England started like a typical travel vlogger, things would rapidly go downhill and set up the blueprint for Spidey's future escapades. The earlier portions of Spidey's time in London were spent doing street interviews, and looking back on it now, he seems like a completely different person.
How do you feel about Queen Elizabeth passing away?
Well, I've never really met her, so like... Oh no,
Eventually, he moved to Scotland to accept a job offer to work in a bar.
I'm trying to get to this town. I'm trying to get there so I can actually get a job.
At first, it seemed like Spidey was turning his life around, but as he made headway in certain areas of his life, he was also relapsing in others.
I relapsed and I got high and I got cooked in Turkey like right now. I got banned on my main account with 70,000 followers, and when I couldn't have like that rush of excitement and endorphins from having a viral video on my main account with 7,000 followers, I just wanted to get high.
Spidey kept his head in Scotland for a while. However, the excitement of him traveling pushed him back to bouncing between countries in Europe as he abused his ADHD medication. Eventually, Spidey got bored of Europe and set his sights on somewhere more lively. By late 2022, Spidey reached America and wasn't in very good shape, as his medication abuse had affected him so much that he was sleeping in the bathroom even when a bed was available.
I'm staying in a hotel room in Compton, and I decided to sleep in the toilet with the door locked just for extra protection because I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect, and I just want to be better safe than sorry.
This wasn't the only unsanitary habit Spidey picked up during his travel. On occasion, Spidey would make his popular snot rocket videos that were more disgusting than you could imagine.
What the fuck, dude?
Bit by bit, Spidey let his need for new experiences take over his life as he got into increasingly concerning situations. To add fuel to the flaming mess that was Spidey's life, LA offered him access to whatever substance he wanted.
A week ago, I ran out of my dexamphetamine ADHD prescription, and I thought that I could microdose a bit of crystal meth by putting it in water and just drinking a little bit to volumetrically dose it, because ice is readily accessible in LA. People smoke it on the trains, and it was no problem getting my hands on it.
Ultimately, Spidey would find himself getting robbed in the New York subway, and the way Spidey responded to the situation just goes to show how far gone he truly was.
I've got autism! Please give me my phone! I have autism and I'm from Australia! Please give me my phone! I won't have a way to get back! I won't have a way to get back home! Can you please give me my phone? Please give me my phone! I'm from Australia! I won't have a way to get back home! I've got autism!
Spidey's outing in New York would garner millions of views on TikTok and push his insane antics to a much wider audience. This would also mark the beginning of a new pattern of behavior, one that saw Spidey screaming that he has autism as a defense in dangerous encounters. By March of 2023, word of Spidey's crazy antics had spread beyond TikTok, with Pyrocynical posting a video titled "The Most Hated TikToker," which covered the creator's actions up until now.
He travels to different countries every other day, and he has really bizarre interactions with the locals.
As Spidey's infamy grew, so did his appetite for creating chaos. On the 20th of April 2023, during a trip to Thailand, Spidey would record himself losing his V-card at an adult establishment, where he then proceeded to harass and berate the staff on video.
Guys, she ripped me off. Don't do it. Don't do it. She ripped me off.
No, she didn't.
She did rip me off.
No, she didn't.
This one no good. This one no good. Don't get this one.
An alleged worker that saw Spidey would leave this comment: "Hey, I work here. Dude paid for only 20 wins standard and did not last more than 5 minutes and streamed without the worker's consent. This man is disgusting." In the months that followed, Spidey decided to include text-to-speech functionality whenever a donation was made. Adding a loudspeaker that would blare out whatever his already toxic chat says definitely wasn't going to cause trouble, right? Well, wrong.
Anonymous sent $3. I lost all respect for you after doing a TTS stream on the bus in New Zealand. You're the way you allowed people to be disrespected for your money gain is fun.
Wow. Inappropriate TTS messages will become the norm during Spidey's streams, and frequently made bad situations even worse. Despite the dangers, Spidey left it on since it was the primary way he would make money. By June 2023, Spidey's TTS donations and propensity for invading the privacy of others almost got him into a street fight with another TikTok creator by the name of London City Walks.
I'm going to give you two choices, yeah? One, walk away, or two, I'm going to hurt you all the equipment. Take your pick.
This is public
I don't care.
property.
Take your choice now. Get lost.
This is public property.
Get lost.
Whether due to a lack of self-awareness or sheer stupidity, Spidey told him to escort things even further.
There you are.
You telling me again, yeah?
Yeah, I am. What are you going to do? Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Before Spidey could get into any more trouble, one of his friends would call an ambulance to check up on him and told with any substances in his system.
Yeah, he just needs someone to check up on him. He's a bit dissociated. He's taking something, so he's not too well.
Okay, do we know what he's taking?
I believe, I'm not sure. He hasn't told me, but he can probably tell you.
Sadly, Spidey wasn't willing to receive any assistance.
What have you done, dude?
This is how you get help, bro. This is how you sober up.
If friends and paramedics couldn't pull Spidey out of his slump, then maybe his family could. On a trip to Australia later that month, Spidey's mother would pick him up from the airport in hopes of ending his homeless lifestyle.
Guys, my mother's been picking me up from the airport, and she also brought me an antioxidant pack as well. Because I have been deprived of nutrients.
While being with his family restricted Spidey's substance use, it didn't stop him from partaking in his other addiction.
Guys, I'll be going live on YouTube. I'll be doing an all-night live stream.
It didn't take long before Spidey's obnoxiously loud TTS notifications attracted the rage of those around him.
Anonymous sent $3 because your sister a registered sex offender too.
I'm working.
Oh, this is my house.
I'm working. This is my job.
The already tense situation would only get worse once Spidey was escorted outside.
This is very dehumanizing.
It's not dehumanizing.
Exactly. You're allowing your viewers to say disrespectful things.
We're your family. We're hurt, and you're filming us. Look at you. You're fucked up. You're in the head.
Spidey's mother and sister would try to reason with him to stop the stream when he came inside. However, their pleading fell on deaf ears.
You're allowing your viewers to say disrespectful things to us in our house, and we say no. We say no to that.
Seeing no other option, Spidey's family decided to kick him out, and it seemed Spidey couldn't fully register the huge mistake he had just made.
I'm being kicked out of my house right now. My mom wants to sell it. It's like this stuff. I don't like my stuff, man. There's like left all my stuff here.
Once again, Spidey was free to do as he pleased and proceeded to go on a substance binge in England.
Guys, I'm here in England. It's 5:30 a.m. Gosh. What the fuck, dude?
For the rest of 2023, Spidey would hop country to country causing chaos everywhere he went. During his trip to Japan, Spidey would frequently disrespect social norms, like entering a women's-only train car.
You guys, did you know in Japan they have women-only carriages? It's like Saudi Arabia in here. I am the women inspector, checking there's only women on this carriage.
Entering a room in an airport meant for breastfeeding mothers.
Look, they got a room for people with autism. Let's go check it out, guys. This is my room right here. Hey, for people with autism right here. I think this is like the baby's room, guys. Whoops.
Not to mention aligning himself with one of the worst IRL streamers, Johnny Somali.
If you want another autism, she stole my phone clip. I didn't say he stole my phone again.
All of Spidey's misadventures in Japan would eventually get him arrested, and although he was released sometime later, it didn't stop him from doing the same thing in America. From defiling the beaches of Hawaii...
I'm not even gonna bother freaking wiping, dude. Wiping, bro.
...to his widely controversial mobility scooter prank.
Oh, sorry, sir. I would like to apologize.
During his stay in Hawaii, Spidey would encounter a fellow creator by the name of Mr. G, who offered him a place to stay. In exchange, Mr. G requested control of Spidey's social media accounts, took 20% of his stream revenue, and asked him to wake up at 5 a.m. to help feed stray cats in the area, something that Spidey quickly got sick of.
You can wake up at 3 a.m. and I'm not in the mood, right? I'm not in the fucking mood to do it, but get out of bed, right? Even though I slept like 7-8 hours, I walked around for ages yesterday. I go outside, you know, and then he's like really bossy. He's so bossy. He's like.
At some point, Spidey would cut ties with Mr. G, and while their time together wasn't all too pleasant, and Mr. G was accused of taking advantage of Spidey, at least he was finally sober. Unfortunately, Spidey's sobriety didn't last very long, as his hunger for substance and clout would soon push him over the edge. Spidey's next stop was somewhere he'd previously visited, but the only difference was that he was coming with a thirst for cheap substances and far looser moral standards. Being alone in Thailand gave Spidey the opportunity to fulfill whatever carnal pleasure he wanted, and moderation wasn't an option. From filming himself sampling the local foods to partaking in every substance he could get his hands on. To fill these expensive activities, Spidey would frequently beg for donations on stream to, quote, give to all the Thai community and, quote, pay for companionship, unquote.
If you guys want to see tonight's live stream, guys, I'm trying to raise $100 and there's going to be a great stream, and it's all for Thailand, for the community.
That part about paying for companionship was a reference to a 45-year-old woman that Spidey was taking on a, quote, date, and then claimed she was his girlfriend. Viewers naturally assumed, like many others, she was taking advantage of Spidey's mental state to garner donations. Sadly, there was much more urgent problems for the community to worry about, as Spidey had taken his substance use to an all-time high, which manifested in his pupils being dilated or different sized and incoherent speech.
Promote, show legal, you know, good things about Thailand. And yeah, I got nothing to hide.
Spidey was in a severe downward spiral, and the worst part about it is that he hardly even noticed the danger, as he delusionally claimed he was a, quote, Thai man. It's safe to say that Spidey was letting his addiction to views and vices get the better of him, as he was almost never sober or offline, constantly intoxicated with several substances, terminally posting online, and surrounded by the wrong people was a recipe for disaster. And if Spidey couldn't pull himself out of it, then he may never recover. Fortunately for Spidey, he had one more opportunity to get help. The only issue was that he didn't want to take it. On the 1st of January 2024, after a particularly horrible substance binge, Spidey would have this interaction with the police while doing a live stream.
TikTok. No. TikTok. Tourist. Yeah. Tourist. Okay. See. 20 minutes now. Pardon? 20 minutes now. 20 minutes?
They questioned Spidey about his mental state and substance use, to which he either brushed off or answered in a very strange accent. During the live stream, Spidey would dox himself by mentioning the name of the hotel he was staying at. Whether it was to evade police or cover his blunder, Spidey would later leave that area and head to a separate location to continue his substance usage.
Now we're just going to look for a nice place to smoke. This is like real jungle here, guys. Wow, I really come to like the jungle. Even like Chiang Mai was not this jungly at the station.
Spidey would go missing for a few days, and it was only through the help of the community in conjunction with his mother that he was later found. Unbeknownst to both Spidey and his community, this would become his last update for a long while. He isn't in any police station. Hashtag where is Spidey? Going to contact immigration at some point today to find out if he's being deported. As you'd expect, users began discussion if he had either passed away due to substance abuse or was arrested. It would take a combined effort of r/tourist Spidey moderators, Spidey's mother, who was now in Thailand, and several calls to nearby hospitals or police to track down Spidey's whereabouts. On the 25th of January, moderators announced that they had found him in a nearby hospital. Last update, we were calling the hospital. The hospital called us back and said yes, he's here. Hospital video called so JG could speak to Spidey. Just organizing things in the background.
Hello everyone. Basically, I was locked up for about a week. I'm not going to go into too much detail at this point.
Spidey would later explain that he went to the police for help, as the substance had not doctors kept him awake for several days, but had also eaten away at his sanity. To prevent Spidey from doing any further damage to his body and reputation, his mother would take him to the airport and make their way to Australia. Upon their arrival, Spidey was immediately moved to a mental institution so he could have a chance at recovering.
Flew all the way from Australia to bail me out of hospital, and then she flew me and her back to Australia. But I now owe my mum like $4,500 Australian dollars.
Despite being in the pandemic, Spidey still had access to his second greatest fights, TikTok Live, and was determined to make the most of it.
So in this mental hospital, I'm only allowed my phone from like 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. So I'm gonna make the most out of it, guys. I'm gonna go live on my other account.
Whenever Spidey went live in the past, he always attempted something extreme to attract viewers and donations. But now that he was in a restricted environment, he didn't have the luxury of annoying passerbyers for clout. So he did the next best thing and annoyed staff members who were trying to help him.
Should I press it? Just for the memes. For the memes. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay. Oh shit. Fuck.
It seems like the gravity of what Spidey did hadn't dawned on him yet. He had wrongfully used a duress button, which was only meant for emergencies, lied that it was on accident, and was still filming it. The guards and other staff weren't having any of it and requested Spidey to hand over his phone, to which he refused.
I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to fight.
Well, it sounds to me like you're here to argue about us.
No, I'm just...
But asking you for the phone, you can damage to your reputation and damage your reputation to other patients on this ward.
Remember, Spidey had only been there for a couple of days and was already causing serious trouble. From the 27th of January 2024, Spidey seemed to no longer have access to his phone, since his posts had drastically reduced. However, before Spidey had his phone taken away, he made a particularly concerning post with regards to his medication.
I'm refusing to take any kind of medication while I'm in here because I'm strong, and I told them how I'm in the Champions League. I have a Champions League player.
Following a short break from uploading, Spidey resumed his live streams with a much calmer demeanor and was trying safer ways to keep himself entertained.
This reminds me of Broken Hill.
Spidey would also share what seemed to be his honest thoughts about his recovery, as well as stating he would be held for another month.
I'm being held for another month. Thank you, Lord. Without trust, there can be no relationship. So people saying like, oh, don't trust. There can be no relationship without trust. You have to have trust, then you can have the relationship.
Or indefinitely, since he was marked as an involuntary patient. This meant that Spidey was going to be on a very long road to recovery. And while he had the back of the community, his mother, and the staff at the institution, Spidey would once again self-sabotage his first sight of freedom. During his day off, Spidey would stream himself taking a certain substance. Now that he was again indulging in illicit substances, he could have just undone weeks of progress. After all, nitrous oxide can cause neurological damage in high doses. On top of all this, another individual named Snakey was trying to lure Spidey back to his old life of degeneracy.
But when are they lifting the cup and letting the spider free? And when... Because the snake slithered out of the bushes, bruh. Do you know? Okay, I'm gonna follow this. I think Spidey's a little preoccupied.
Thankfully, Spidey had already given his passport over to his mother.
Will you be alright for April so we can go to Thailand together on my Centrelink advance? On the taxpayers' money?
I've surrendered my passport to my mom.
You would think that spending over a month in a mental hospital would have changed Spidey just a little bit, but that wasn't the case. Spidey appeared to be making better choices, but that only happened when he was either in the institution or with his family. The moment Spidey stepped out of that building, he relapsed and continued as usual. Spidey has spent the last year and a half recording himself bouncing between countries while taking a cocktail of dangerous substances. It only makes sense that he would resist a more stable environment. Staff at the mental hospital already restrict Spidey's access to substances and social media, which is a good step forward. But whenever they loosen their grip, he goes right back to his vices. Then there's the matter of Spidey listening to the wrong people, like Sneaky and Mr. G, who only want to benefit from his notoriety. Unfortunately, some individuals still had Spidey's best interest at heart. It's rare for the community around a lolcow to go out of their way to ensure their safety, let alone actively try to make them a better person. For all his mistakes and inexcusable actions, Spidey is a very lucky individual. He got lucky in Thailand when the police checked up on him, and is lucky to have a family that still tried to help him. However, all the help in the world isn't going to do much if Spidey genuinely doesn't want to get better. All this leaves the community to wonder whether or not Spidey would ever choose to stay sober. Or maybe he'll slip back into his old ways. Only time will tell if Spidey will take his gold ticket to redemption or throw it all away for immediate gratification. Although even if Spidey does get his act together, he'll have to account for all those donations with the tax office. With all that being said, at least he isn't a TikTok creep addicted to wearing diapers. Click the video on screen to find out more. Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring the video. You can head to the link in the description and use code Anarchist55 to get 55% off your first month, making it cost about $7. And don't forget to subscribe.
So you're back for more, eh? Well, strap in, because it's gonna get wild, because today we're going to be talking about a far-right cult that spreads anti-Semitic, racist, Islamophobic, homophobic, anti-trans, and other vile narratives that also happens to be one of the most prominent newspapers and right-wing political donors in the United States and the world. That, more than likely, is coming to a town very soon near you. Oh, and I don't mean that in an insidious, some creepy far-right thought might start forming in a group near you. No, I mean quite literally, if you're like me, this group is potentially coming to a local theater and passing out flyers on your front door or in your local sushi restaurant. Yeah, it's kind of terrifying. But even more importantly, I want to talk to you about what this group has to say and why it's actually representative of a larger fascistic movement in the United States and worldwide. And I want to specifically hone in on the use of anti-trans narratives that we see in places around the United States and the world in things like the anti-trans legislation that has cropped up across numerous states in the United States in order to showcase how specific bigotries like the anti-trans movement are generated and then used to bring in people to larger fascistic worldviews. How anti-trans bigotry is not just an isolated pillar of hatred, but one that buttresses up much larger, vile narratives. But before we get started on that, here's a quick recap, because this video is actually a follow-up to my last video that was about a film called Gender Transformations. I highly recommend that you go and watch that video before you watch this one, but it's not strictly necessary to understand this one, because I'll give you a brief summary here. Gender Transformations is an anti-transgender docudrama created by the far-right newspaper, The Epoch Times, for its streaming service, Epoch TV. Epoch Times advertised the film on numerous platforms, such as YouTube, directly targeting parents of transgender kids who may have had questions or even be worried about their child's gender identity, but not known much about trans people overall. Its secondary audience was also just parents in general, and specifically mothers. The film then manipulates this concern over the course of 2 hours into fear and anger against the transgender community, using typical anti-trans narratives and false information, such as right-wing funded detransitioners and manipulated studies, as well as a terrible fictional manipulative dramatization of a real-life transgender man's life and eventual suicide, with the aim to incite violence, both systemic and individual, personal and private, against trans people.
But at least my hope is to save other families to go through what we went through.
The film ultimately makes a final argument for the continued transgender genocide we are currently seeing being enacted in the United States, United Kingdom, and elsewhere, with the furtherization of anti-transgender bills throughout numerous states and countries meant to destroy transgender healthcare and trans people's access to a public life living as ourselves, in hopes that we may go away, either go into the closet or die by suicide due to the mental strain. It also incidentally continually stokes the flame of individual bigotries against trans people. That also furthers the goal of pressuring trans people to stay out of public life. Most specifically, it does this through the manipulation of parents to explicitly pressure their child to be an excellent little perfect function for the capitalist machine, rather than it being their true selves as trans children. The film tells parents to pressure their children into being precisely who their parents want them to be, extensions of themselves and their 2.5-child family that our larger Western culture pushes for, instead of being their weird, strange, disgusting transgender kid.
You can understand my concern here, right, Mr.
I'm not happy as a girl.
Okay, well, let's talk to Mr. Scott, and let's try to figure it out, all right?
Mom, why are you controlling me like this?
The film plays upon fundamentalist Christian narratives of a child's body being sacred, and that a parent knows the real them, and that a trans child is just a perversion, a changeling, a child stolen away from them by outside forces.
You love the girl that you gave birth to.
God gave you this amazing body.
And it's this invokement of a blood libel-esque narrative that is the ultimate goal and focus of what I want to discuss today. Because, as we saw in Gender Transformations, while the narrative was keenly focused on transgender kids, it also continually hinted at, throughout the movie, towards larger narratives.
Because you may have very large organizations, but there's a small group of people who are controlling these organizations, and they tend to be political.
Take, for example, turf and anti-transgender writer Jennifer Bilek, hinting at in the film that pharmaceutical companies or woke Hollywood are manipulating trans kids for profit.
The powerful people behind this, the major corporations, major banks, international
international law firms, all our big technology companies, governments, politicians, at the highest echelons of Western society. Why are they all doing this?
Parents of transgender children, affirming your child's identity is one of the most powerful things you can do to keep them safe and healthy.
This is the most important question, really. Why are they all doing this simultaneously?
And then proceeds to name specific Jewish billionaires behind those groups.
And so what I found was a whole lot of very, very powerful, moneyed people in the highest echelons of finance, pharma, and technology.
Violet, both in the film and her work outside of it, argues that she's just asking questions, not saying it's Jewish people at all, but all while pointing her viewers and readers to more direct anti-Semitic voices, such as this neo-Nazi that she continually cites in her work. Beyond Bindel, we could also take the undercurrent that runs throughout gender transformation and a lot of anti-transgender rhetoric, and focus not on the personhood of transgender men who they're supposedly concerned about, but instead viewing these transgender men as young white girls tricked into the transgender agenda, who lose their reproductive ability and feminine body that appeals to a heterosexual male gaze.
It's destroyed my health. I don't know if I'll ever be able to conceive a child.
I'm getting lit up.
Around the country and around the world, girls are removing breasts that have never known a lover's caress.
It's as if their concern was less about protecting trans men and more about safeguarding their ability to breed. All of these hint towards larger connections to further far-right thoughts, and that's what I want to hone in on. And the reason is that transgender advocates, myself included by the way, often will talk about how anti-transgender narratives are found in proximity to right-wing groups, or even how fascistic movements like the Proud Boys or neo-Nazis will spout anti-transgender rhetoric to point to and say, look how anti-trans narratives are so close to fascism. But we rarely do the work to actually showcase how anti-transgender narratives are not just fascism adjacent, but a central pillar that, along with other pillars of bigotry, uphold a much larger fascistic worldview.
Can't take much more. Oh, my friend.
That was a game over moment, man, but
Oh, hey! So that was kind of a fun little intro. We had like lines going everywhere and stuff being circled, all very conspiracy theory-esque. Well, in that vein, today we're going to start off our discussion by talking about the Epic Times, a right-wing news organization that has worked to incept far-right narratives into our culture. And part of the way that it attempts to do this is to try to not even allow those who come across its news articles on social media to be able to tell how biased those articles actually are. While I know many of you in my audience can spot a Matt Walsh type ranting about woke Hollywood media, the reason that culture war narratives like those being generated by outlets like the Epic Times around trans people are so dangerous is because they get filtered into an increasingly partisan news media system that frames every issue in a binary way that devolves the conversation into a simple us versus them that ultimately centers around the most incendiary viewpoint. And that's where today's sponsor, Ground News, comes in. Ground News is a website and app on a mission to help readers understand the biases of different news outlets that you may encounter. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political biases, factuality, and ownership of the source's reporting, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. For example, check out this story about college athletic organizations banning trans athletes. Right away, you can see that 142 news sources have reported on the story. And below that, you can see that 23% of the reporting comes from left-leaning organizations, while 24% comes from the right. You can even compare headlines to see how this bias affects framing. For example, a left-leaning source titled their article, "World Netball Bans Trans Athletes from International Competitions." In contrast, this right-leaning outlet says NAIA bans male athletes from women's sports to create fairness and competition. That's quite a big difference in how these articles frame trans women and the issue at hand in the title alone, and you're able to see these contrasting biases right there on Ground News. Ground News even has entire pages dedicated to specific news outlets. For the Epic Times, you can see the breakdown of its political biases, its low factuality rating, and even that it's owned by Falun Gong, a group that we'll be talking more about in just a moment. Ground News is a fantastic tool for sifting through disinformation and bias. They provide all the tools that you need to be a critical thinker, and I cannot recommend it enough. In fact, I believe Ground News is so useful that I'm able to offer a 40% off their Vantage subscription. And you can only access this discount through my link. So go to the URL below or click the link in the video description and support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent. So thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video, but with that said, let's talk about what happens if you aren't given the technological or, more importantly, the educational tools to discern media bias like those shown by the Epoch Times. Gender Transformations was created and funded by the Epoch Times for its streaming service Epoch TV. The Epoch Times, if you haven't heard of it, is a far-right international news media company that operates in over 35 countries but is blocked by China. The reason for that is because Epoch Times was founded by John Tang and other Chinese Americans affiliated with the Falun Gong movement. Falun Gong is a cult that emerged in China in the 1990s, led by Li Hongzhi, who encouraged his followers to abandon lust, greed, and otherworldly attachments through meditation and dance, which sounds absolutely great. However, Li also began to argue that Falun Gong could give his supporters superhuman powers, including levitating, which he claimed to be able to do. Just, you know, not when people were looking. He also preached anti-evolution, anti-science, and anti-LGBTQ beliefs, arguing that science and queerness were manipulations by aliens who were trying to replace human beings with clones in order to stop humans from being able to reproduce with each other so that, ultimately, aliens could replace us. Told you we'd get there eventually.
The aliens started by teaching mankind about modern science, so people believe more in their science, and spiritually, they are controlled. Everyone thinks that scientists invent on their own, when in fact, their inspiration is manipulated by the alien. In terms of culture and spirit, they already control man. Mankind cannot live without science. The ultimate purpose is to replace humans. If cloning human beings succeeds, the aliens can officially replace humans. The aliens will take that opportunity to replace the human soul, and by doing so, they will enter Earth and become Earthlings. When such people grow up, they will help replace humans with aliens. They will produce more and more clones. There will no longer be humans reproduced by humans. They will act like humans, but they will introduce legislation to stop human reproduction.
Immediately, we can see how that dovetails very nicely with far-right conspiracy theory narratives about the anti-trans agenda and Jewish people controlling them, as we've been talking about. I mean, if you just replace the word aliens with Jews, it's the exact same thing. But first, let's take a look at some history. As we spoke about in the first video, there's also Magnus Hirschfeld, who founded the Institute of Sex Research in 1919 in Germany, which studied transgender people and homosexuality, mirroring Weimar Germany itself's institutional, if nominal, acceptance of transgender identities. Weimar German government even allowed some citizens to change gender markers on their government documents, similar to how some states allow people to do that in the US. Hirschfeld even coined the term transsexualism, which over the decades led to the word transgender. And it should be even clear that Hirschfeld was only studying people that he saw already existing in Weimar Germany around him. He did not generate the idea of being transgender, just provided some of the first study of transgender people in Western Europe. Much of his work was destroyed when the Nazis burned his clinic in the 1930s as they rose to power, arguing that the Jewish Magnus Hirschfeld was trying to corrupt Aryan bloodlines by turning fertile Aryans gay and transgender. One of the many anti-Semitic narratives used by the Nazis to uphold their authoritarianism and fascism that was justified through eugenic ideals of a superior race that could be bred through the Aryan bloodline. One that was, according to Nazi propaganda, being intentionally diluted by the inhuman Jews. Gender transformation and a lot of anti-trans rhetoric today is doing the same exact argument, pointing at the wealthy billionaires funding the trans agenda who just happen to be Jewish, and claiming that they're trying to ruin the reproductive health of your daughters so that they can destroy the Anglo-Saxon race, something that folks like Matt Walsh will blatantly talk about.
This is how the left is generally framed. To be a less white country, by their telling, is to be a manifestly better country. That's why they celebrate the decline of the white population. It's why they actively seek to facilitate that decline in terms of percentages by inviting unchecked immigration across the southern border. It's why they're very concerned about making sure that white people have less institutional power.
Or you can take the Buffalo shooter who on May 14, 2022 murdered 10 people in India Timor in Buffalo, New York. He traveled directly to a predominantly black neighborhood in order to kill black victims, and he often spoke about a Jewish order using black people to enact a white genocide as part of a great replacement. The whole idea of white replacement is directly based on fascistic rhetoric, and is dovetailing quite neatly with the narratives around anti-transness that we see throughout in films like Gender Transformations.
So there was already this idea going all the way back before the First World War that the only way that white people in the world could survive is if they found some way of containing and eventually controlling the growth of populations in non-white places.
In 1916, American lawyer and conservationist Madison Grant published one of the most influential books of the last 100 years, The Passing of the Great Race, or The Racial Basis of European History. Many of the ideas in Nazi Germany's racial science that rationalized the Holocaust were actually inspired by these American eugenicists. Hitler called Grant's book his Bible. And Hitler's Bible informed the foundation of environmentalism in this country itself. Grant argued that the so-called Nordic race was under threat from certain world populations, and that in order to protect the earth, its resources, and the environment, we needed to eliminate the migration and even the existence of certain populations. And central to Grant's solution was eugenics. Eugenics ascribes societal value to a person's race and class. Those who aren't seen as valuable are considered leeches on resources, and thus, under this outlook, they deserve to be lessened in numbers.
Further, the Buffalo shooter argued and pointed out how he believed that trans people were primarily white and thought Jews were trying to make them infertile or kill themselves.
Yes, white Goyim. Give your children to me and I'll make them think they're girls. Thus, they'll all either kill themselves or become genetic dead ends. Oy vey, Goyim. It's just too easy.
All of this is similar to blood libel stories that incite violence against Jewish people. Stories of Jewish people supposedly trying to steal children for rituals or replace them with legion monsters. Identical to the narratives of how trans-affirming doctors and trans advocates are trying to replace, steal, or make infertile your children, specifically your daughters, who we're only going to talk about in terms of their loss of reproductive health. And this is not isolated to violent shooters, but a lot of far-right rhetoric. Really, whenever you have a story of aliens replacing human beings in order to do nefarious things to us, you should be really fucking careful with that narrative, because it dovetails with actual bullshit. Anyways, getting back to the other time and Lee relocated to a rural hamlet and created a 400-acre compound north of New York City, a city with a sizable Jewish population, by the way, after the Chinese government began to persecute the cult within its country, leading eventually 10,000 people, including Falun Gong practitioners, to surround a CCP compound in Beijing, which eventually catalyzed the CCP to begin targeting Falun Gong members with further state violence, including supposed forced labor, internment, torture, and placing them in programs in order to harvest their organs for organ transplants against their will if they did die in captivity. However, the reports of all of this systemic violence is unclear and unspecific, mostly because the Falun Gong itself often exaggerates the numbers and specific targeting of the Falun Gong to elicit sympathy. Due to their persecution by the Chinese government, much of the Falun Gong's focus has been anti-China and anti-communist propaganda.
What if?
The cult first became majorly known in the United States for the Shen Yun dance troupe that features a traveling show, which markets itself as a mix of traditional Chinese dance and Falun Gong practices, but features, if you end up attending the show, scenes of Gong members being tortured and a Karl Marx and Xi Jinping tsunami stopped by Lee himself. Yep, Lee makes himself the messiah who quells a communist flood. Honestly, being frank with you, as much of this is all bullshit, nonsense, conspiracy theory stuff, I kind of would like to see a Karl Marx tsunami. I am here for the Karl Marx tsunami. But the Shen Yun performances were aimed at converting more people into the cult by enticing them with entertainment and making them appear more sympathetic, as well as targeting affluent communities to perform within in order to bring the cult more money. And the Shen Yun dance troupe traveled across America. I even saw posters for their show playing in my local area when I went to my sushi shop just last week. And they even got flyers delivered to my door, which, to be frank, kind of freaked me out considering that I was working on this video at the time. What was even wilder, though, is that while I live on the West Coast, I traveled home to the East Coast for Christmas and saw posters for them there as well. showcasing how far-reaching these genuine dance troupe is. There are even billboards that you can see right now on the way into Los Angeles County. This is not just some small group, but one that has prominent reach across the United States. It is absolutely wild considering it is an actual cult spreading anti-Semitic, anti-trans, and more far-right beliefs. Just, having a billboard on the side of the highway. This eventually connects with the efforts of the Epoch Times, which, when it began in the early 2000s, also mainly featured anti-communist and anti-Chinese stories alongside its more standard news fare. The Epoch Times itself was funded by members of the Falun Gong and is often believed to be just a mouthpiece of the group. This, along with the cult's conspiracy theory beliefs that dovetailed with far-right beliefs, as we said before, led to finding purchase within far-right and right-wing groups at the time. However, Epoch Times didn't gain much mainstream attention until Donald Trump rose to prominence in the 2016 election, as Falun Gong saw Trump's China hawkishness in his rhetoric as an opportunity for them, and they ended up spending more money on ads for Trump in the 2016 and 2020 elections than any other group outside of Trump himself. Yet Epoch Times found its most significant influx of readers and money after it began to full-throated support Donald Trump's anti-Chinese rhetoric during the COVID-19 pandemic, building its brand off of COVID-19 conspiracy theories that underscored Falun Gong's anti-Chinese and anti-medicine viewpoints. They promoted the Chinese lab leak conspiracy theory without evidence and also echoed Trump's continual description of COVID-19 as the China virus. That was my best Trump. I try to be an entertainer for you. This is the best I can do. It's very good. I'm very good. No. It's not a thing I can do. The use of the term China virus helped to stoke anti-Chinese government sentiments and more directly led to hatred and violence against Chinese and Asian Americans within the United States.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no.
Epoch Times also saw huge numbers and spikes in its YouTube videos as it spread COVID-19 disinformation, funneling more and more viewers into its readership. Research found that by the end of 2020, Epoch Times pro-Trump content had helped to make it near ubiquitous in QAnon and other conspiracy theory groups, eventually leading it to find prominence and purchase in other countries outside of the US like Germany and Italy, all galvanized by those communities' anti-vaccine groups as well. From there, based on all the additional revenue they had, Epoch Times created their streaming service Epoch TV, which funds such wonderful films as Gender Transformations and works with directors like Tobias Elvich, who was the one asked by Epoch Times to create this film. Elvich had previously worked on propaganda pieces such as the series Divine Messengers and Red Lotus, A Forbidden Diary, a short film that propagandized a torture porn version of Falun Gong followers' mistreatment by the CCP. Further, Epoch Times regularly employs Falun Gong practitioners who, it was discovered, were barely paid for their work, receiving a salary of only $2,000 a year and the rest being paid in virtue, a supposed white substance in another dimension that you gain when you do good things. Okay. Yeah, pay me in virtue. I want that other dimensional white substance. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Now, the reason I share all this is not for me to just point at Epoch Times and say, oh, look at that kooky cult that funded this anti-trans film. Isn't that wild? I mean, I am doing that a little bit, but the real reason is that I'm pointing out what films like Gender Transformations are intentionally funneling their viewers towards and how we all, myself included, interact with these works. When people like myself try to take down anti-trans rhetoric, we tend to talk about it as if it exists in isolation from all other bigotries and systems. But in reality, they all ultimately collide and buttress each other up, bringing in people from different places, but landing them all in the same ecosystem. Someone may come down a rabbit hole of COVID conspiracy videos on the Epoch Times or attend what they think is a culturally enriching Chinese dance show, but suddenly find themselves in a pipeline that will lead them to anti-trans beliefs, anti-Semitic propaganda, racist conspiracy theories, and more. These groups only view the people who work for them, transgender kids, detransitioners, parents, or even their employees or cult members as simple functions for their machine in order to generate them more revenue and attention, and ultimately power. We can see this pipeline very clearly in that Epoch Times advertised this film alongside trans supportive content like mine, trying to funnel to certain fans who are only worried about trans transgender issues into a darker web of conspiracy theories. When you click on their ads, the Epic Times even gives you 10 minutes of the film for free to watch. And once you watch that 10 minutes, well, it hopes that it's hooked you deeper and deeper in, and eventually you'll pay for Epic TV to watch this film, and then suddenly you're on the site where you're continually fed a diet of further conspiracy-filled content, not just anti-trans propaganda. The Epic Times and Shen Yun are best understood as spiritual propositions that promise to save your soul if you buy into their product. A similar proposition that things like the Daily Wire or right-wing conspiracy theories will also do, though in less spiritual, explicit terms. By the way, a quick reminder for those of you who watched the last video, as well as those of you who are new to this video, what you're about to hear in just a moment, and a couple other times throughout the video, is a quote from a teacher who works with some transgender kids in a more left-of-center leaning school district here in the United States who I interviewed for this video, but who I'm anonymizing on their request to protect their identity and job.
When the pandemic happened, everybody was rightfully worried and scared. We didn't know what was happening and had to rely on the internet to find new recommendations and updates. It was easy to go from a legitimate source of info to a more shady one, and then to total misinformation and conspiracy theories. Once you click on these videos, you keep being recommended more. I think many people everywhere were looking for a reason, a why, and from there, for someone to blame, for a scapegoat. Fearmongers on YouTube were propagating health misinformation and racist theories. From there, it's the rabbit hole. I think it was just a gateway to scare people more and more. Parents are always concerned for their kids. It's normal. They also want to be involved in their education, and sometimes they also worry when their kids are learning concepts that they are unfamiliar with. Most families in liberal spaces welcome diverse conversations and want their children to learn about the world around them. However, there's been more and more of a new type of interaction where people, maybe 0.5% of the parent population, but oh, they are loud, just skip questions and worries and go directly to accusations and threats.
In fact, let's talk a little bit more about that target audience of concerned parents, because we need to discuss how the film is not just aimed directly at them, but more specifically middle-class, affluent white parents and their perspectives. At one point in the film, Evan is called a Karen by a bully in the class.
Yeah, don't be so disrespectful. We're trying to learn here.
Okay, Karen.
Hey.
For Evan to be insulted as a Karen underscores the rude perspective of the film. This is not the way that kids actually insult each other. As someone who was called many things in my youth, and still to this day, I can tell you that kids are much more creative than that. While the drama is narratively about a young trans man's journey, the fears the story is centered upon are not ones that he would actually face, but instead his mother's and vicariously the parents the film is catered towards centering. Ultimately, Evan and all the kids present in this film, real or fictional, become objects for the film's intended audience of concerned upper-class white mothers to project their fears and agency upon. So much so that even the lower middle-class trans child of ambiguous racial background that the fictional narrative supposedly centers upon is attacked with insults wielded often against middle-aged upper to middle-class white women, like the term Karen. Thus, the film is used to instigate this fight while simultaneously ignoring racial aspects of words like Karen. Karen is a pejorative term that originated within the black community to describe a white woman asserting her power as an upper-class white woman to get what she wants in a situation, often wielding her ability to be viewed as a victim, typically through explicit or subconscious white woman tears, playing off of the ingrained assumption in our society that BIPOC folks, especially black men, are seen as inherently violent and dangerous, in order to get others to wield institutional power and violence against them. Think of the famous Central Park dog-walking Karen, who called the cops crying, claiming to be in danger from a black photographer and Star Trek comic book writer Christian Cooper, who was simply bird-watching in the park. The word Karen describes women who actively wield their whiteness and white femininity through perceived victimhood to weaponize existing hierarchical systemic power structures over racialized groups and people. While the term has partially been co-opted and diluted by mainstream dominant culture, as many things created by the black community often are, could just mean white women complaining and often used by white men to enforce patriarchal control over white women, its primary usage is still rooted in identifying invisible systems of white supremacy and how it interacts with white womanhood to uphold itself. As a result, Karen has been framed as a sexist, classist, ageist slur by not only upper-class conservative women, but increasingly by gender-critical anti-trans women such as Julie Bindel as well, which underscores the connection and anxiety surrounding the use of the term and often upper-class white womanhood framing of the gender-critical movement against transgender people, and their often inability to recognize that while they, as women, face sexism, they are also privileged in numerous other aspects through being white and having economic means. Instead, these gender-critical feminists will frame their experience of womanhood, one often intersecting with multiple economic and social privileges, as the only valid experience of womanhood, and not understanding how that womanhood upholds a patriarchal system when wielded against Black, Indigenous people of color. So here too we come to an essential understanding of how anti-trans narratives like this thrive. It's the same reason that gender-critical folks will also call cis a slur, white feminism a slur, TERF a slur, despite many of those words being often used to just describe a power hierarchical dynamic that they don't wish to fit into or even recognize, because it would reveal how they are upholding those very systems. While words like cis are just used to recognize that there are trans and cis people trying to normalize the idea of being trans instead of seeing cis as normal, words like white feminism and TERF are intentionally derogatory because yes, it is a bad thing to be a white feminist or a TERF because you're upholding a power hierarchical dynamic that you're trying to make invisible that ultimately harms transgender people, as well as many marginalized groups. And by the way, I'd recommend this excellent video by the leftist Cooks or the book Elite Capture, which will go into greater detail about how understandings of intersections of identity have been segmented and cast against each other. About how we see things like racism or anti-Semitism or anti-transness as separate things that we need to fight instead of interlocking systems that all work together to ultimately fuel the same system of power.
Especially in recent history, more often than not, one form of oppression has been replaced with another, different form that is similar or even more unjust than the one that preceded it. But maybe we want more than to play whack-a-mole with injustice. If we want to do more than alter the color of our children's chains, we will have to successfully oppose more than isolated instances of oppression.
To understand where this white feminist attitude in gender-critical quote-unquote feminism comes from and how it gets weaponized by women seeking to uphold a hierarchical status quo in our society, we need to briefly explore the root of how feminism was conceptualized within the United States. Black men were continually framed as a danger to white women's purity and virginhood, as we see in films like Birth of a Nation, building off of the slavery-justifying narratives that had existed since colonialization began, as we discussed earlier in this video. And this framing of blackness, a concept literally created by colonialization to frame blackness against white people, i.e. European folks, as a threat to white women, caused white suffragettes to start fighting for the rights of white women to vote over the voting rights of Black, Indigenous, and Asian women, seeing them as not only distinctive fights, but ones that were directly opposing each other. Many of the early white suffragettes fighting for women's rights and women's right to vote specifically often framed women's rights in direct contention with Black folks' right to vote, with Anna Howard Shaw, the National Women's Suffragette Association president, stating after the ratification of the 15th Amendment that gave Black men the right to vote,
"You have put the ballot in the hands of your Black men, thus making them political superiors of white women. Never before in the history of the world have men made former slaves the political masters of their former mistresses."
Many white supremacists realized that this framing of white women versus Black people worked in their favor, even helping to fund the white suffragette movement. George Francis Train, a white supremacist at the time who supported a return to slavery, founded the women's rights newspaper Revolution in order to further instigate this dichotomy to uphold white supremacy. This laid the groundwork for much of how we think about feminism today in the US, going well into modern American feminist movements. Take Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex, which is a foundational text for second-wave feminism, establishing the idea of a white woman as the woman and subject of feminism, as writer Rafi Zarkiri points out in her book Against White Feminism.
Comparing woman to others, to include Blacks and Jews, de Beauvoir reveals herself to be thinking of women as only white women. From the very introductory pages of The Second Sex, de Beauvoir identifies otherness as the fundamental category and woman as the ultimate other, in a way similar to how the natives of a country see inhabitants of other countries as foreigners, Jews as the others for anti-Semites, Blacks as racist Americans, Indigenous peoples for colonists, proletarians for the propertied classes. In de Beauvoir's view, then, the justifications for inferior contradictions of race, class, and caste are not just comparable, but rather the same. In this way, she sheets each of these as discrete systems of oppression that could be compared, but did not overlap. In every comparison that de Beauvoir makes between women and blacks, however, the blacks are assumed to be American and male, and the women are assumed to be white.
This willful blindness on the part of many prominent white feminists is intentionally incentivized by the system, playing upon upper middle class to upper class white women's understanding of how they exist within a generated hierarchical dichotomy of men versus women, essentially understanding that they live in a patriarchal society that oppresses them, yet insulates them from understanding that there is an underclass that is generated through intersecting economic, racial, religious, as well as gender and other generative hierarchies that themselves were framed against white womanhood. As a result, it allows many white feminists to play into a binary fight of them against the patriarchy while simultaneously pushing down others who speak on the necessity of intersectionality required to accurately deconstruct the systems of white supremacy that those very standards of white womanhood were built upon.
Genesis ideas didn't start or end with the conservationists. They